What is up, all you GBA type fans? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys week 3 of the GBA. This week we're playing Geo and the San Francisco GiEnteis. If you have any questions about my team, what I brought, or why I brought them, please check out my team builder that I uploaded last night. Now, looking at Geo's team, obviously you know what I brought. A Black Sludge, Nidoqueen, a Banded Zydog, a hidden item, Gardevoir, AV Hitmonlee, regular Porygon 2, and a Specs Thundurus T. Geo had brought, well, basically 5 things that I predicted. He brought the Bronzong over the Ferrothorn, so no Leech Seed, but possibly T-Wave, Psychic Stab, which hits Nidoqueen, Gyro Ball, which is okay, not going to hit Porygon 2 that hard, possibly Toxic, and definitely Stealth Rocks. Conkeldurr, we knew he was going to bring Conkeldurr. I mean, it just makes sense. It's just about finding out now what set it is that he's using. Gengar, probably Scarflick, I think. Tapu Fini, which is probably going to be some sort of defensive variant, because besides that and Gyarados, this is best checks for Zydog. And then Heliolisk, which I'm thinking is, in fact, Specs. So overall, I'm shocked he didn't bring Salamence and Ferrothorn, or even Arcanine, but also not really. Like, I kind of see the reason he brought what he did. We don't see Aerodactyl, we don't see Umbreon. Perfect. I'm excited for this match. Hope you guys are too. Let's get right into the battle. Battle of the Bay against Geo in the conference. Let's get this going. San Francisco Sharpedos. Sharpedos is going to take over San Francisco, I should mean. So, getting right into it. We have Geo. We got me. We're in this. Let's go 2-0 in the conference. He leads off with Bronzong. I lead off with Nidoqueen. The idea here is obviously let's get up rocks. He could probably set up rocks too on the first turn. Nothing really going to stop that. I mean, he could taunt me too, but I am going to outspeed it. I go for rocks, and right here I'm going to see, well, you should go for rocks, but instead he goes for Side Shock. This is going to do a good chunk of damage. We see it does upwards of what, 60? Yeah, a little like 74 damage. And 62 after the Black Sludge. But we see I take that relatively nicely. This is a defensive Nidoqueen after all. I'm going to go for Flamethrower here just to see what item he is. And we do see that it's an Occa Berry. Not going to do that much damage at all. But he's going to set up his rocks here. And, he gets up rocks. That's fine. I'm going to end up spinning them away eventually as the battle does go on. But right here I'm thinking, it's a beautiful day. And it's a wonderful time to make a prediction. And I think to myself, he has to switch. Like, Flamethrower is obvious. It's going to be resisted by Tapu Fini. So he goes into it. I think to myself, well, I can just click Sludge Wave. And since it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, it's also, ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful day to suck this Sludge Tapu Fini. What a prediction. Boom. Right in the face of Moana. And that pretty much turns Tapu Fini into, well, it's kind of dead, right? Like, I just did, what, 65, 70% with a Sludge Wave? Granted, this is modest. That did a lot of damage. And I'm actually kind of happy I made that prediction. That means that he can't heal up outside of leftovers unless he has rest. And overall, that pretty much puts a dent on his team because now Zydog is that much more of a threat. Gyarados could come in. It probably will come in at this point. But he can't bring in Fini easily to threaten it out because he can't really take those bandit hits. He's going to go for Surf. It does damage to Porygon 2. And this is going to draw out his Conkeldurr. And I knew that going into this battle. Every time Porygon 2 is out, he's going to go into Conkeldurr, mostly because if he's AV, he's bulky, something along that nature. He's not going to take that much damage. And right here, I kind of confirmed it, but I'm going to go for a T-Bolt. Not trying to overpredict versus the Tapu Fini. I kind of want to kill that because it's the only form of hazard removal. And if I get rid of that, he can't get rid of the rocks, which means that they're pretty much here to stay. Go for T-Bolt. Does damage. Non-stab, I get that, but we go into my defensive check being Gardevoir. That's the purpose of Gardevoir coming in the first place. Go for Trace, and I see that he's Iron Fist. So he's right in between what I expected and what was, kind of also a good option. He goes for Ice Punch. That means he does a lot of damage. I thought he had to be Sheer Force, but I guess he wanted that middle ground between Guts and banking on me statusing him, or going for Sheer Force and not getting that secondary boost. But now instead I kind of know he's going to have a lot of punching moves. Drain Punch, Ice Punch, maybe even Mach Punch. And I'm just not going to overpredict. I go for Moonblast. They said I was going to do about 60 to 70%, so he couldn't really afford to stay in. But with him switching out, it kind of also shows me he doesn't have poison jab, so that's kind of a good thing for Gardevoir, meaning his best move, I think, is either Ice Punch or Knockoff to hit Gardevoir. Right here, believe it or not, we actually DC right here on our first time around. And I never see what he goes for, but he sees the... Like, he makes his switch, and he sees what I go for. So he sees the wish, and we DC right here. Not a big deal. We ended up recreating everything perfectly fine, as you see. Hence the replay. But I'm just going to go for a wish. Going to try and get back up to full HP. This part is going to be a little bit slow, so I'll try and speak through it. 2 fairies, bulky-ish, probably defensive for the most part. Obviously, Tapu Fini is bulky enough on the special side to take any hit from Gardevoir. I mean, it probably won't die to a Moonblast, but it'll take a solid chunk of damage. I get my wish back up, and I'm back at full HP. It's kind of what I want to be at in terms of taking on Conkeldurr. And we're going to see that Geo essentially just like removes all of that work I just did those past 2 turns. Goes to Nature's Madness, like I suspected, maybe predicting a switch into Porygon 2, maybe thinking I'll go into Nidoqueen. But instead I just kind of think to myself, Moana needs to die. This Tapu Fini needs to go away. Go for Moonblast, special defense drop, whatever. But he removed all my my progress with the wish and the protect. So right here I think he kind of predicts me to go for another one to kind of get back into full HP, but I think to myself, no, this thing needs to go. This is one less check for Zydog. That means that Bronzong is his only switch. It's not even really a good switch, and everything else on his team is gonna get bopped. I mean, outside of Gyarados, but even so, this is a good position for me to be in. He goes into Gengar, very obvious switch, but I'm not staying in, obviously, because both of its stabs are going to pretty much kill me. I'm not really that in a good position. But instead of going into Porygon 2, I decided to make a middle ground play, which also inhibits him, essentially, because he's going to make the double to predict me to go into Porygon 2. No. Like I said, I suspected the trick. You know, the trick Gengar makes a lot of sense for his team. Instead, I go into Nidoqueen to ensure that, well, A, I outpace him, but B, it puts me in a better spot so he can't just Drain Punch. He can't force me to go into something, and like basically if I went to Nidoqueen first, or went to Porygon 2 first, he could go for Ice Punch, make a prediction of me going into Nidoqueen, which kind of makes sense. But also he can go for Knockoff, something along those lines. Now he just kind of has to play the Nidoqueen in front of him, which is pretty much what he's going to do. He's going to go for Ice Punch as I bring in the Gardevoir here. It's going to do a lot of damage. That's okay. That's okay, you know? Like, I'm going to die, pretty much. And I can't wish up. I can't protect, so I don't have any leftovers on me. But he goes for Mach Punch instead. He's going to knock me out. That's fine, because now that Gardevoir's down, I mean, I have to now force probably Nidoqueen to die next time Conkeldurr comes in. But it means I get a free switch in the time after that, which is kind of the plan I'm going after. He's going to switch out, and I know 3 of his moves, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and Mach Punch. But I go into Thundurus, and he has to switch because I think he realizes that Heliolisk now is his best Volt switch in, and we see it as a clean, like 45% or 40% even. That's resisted, but damn, that's a lot of damage. Meaning if I went for like T-Bolt, it would have did a little bit more. But instead, just going to go right out into Hitmonlee, and this is what draws out Gyarados right here. I guess this is his check to Gyarados, and Intimidate Gyarados is going to come in. He's thinking, I'm going to go for something like High Jump Kick or Close Combat. But instead I go, you know what? Why would I do that? I know I'm Assault Vest. I know I'm going to take any hit being a Volt Switch, a Hyper Voice, or a T-Bolt from the Heliolisk. So instead, I'm just going to go for Knockoff. Going to get rid of the Heliolisk's choice item. I'm going to get rid of this Gyarados's... Well, now I get rid of the Gyarados's leftovers. So now every time he comes in, he's taking 25%. Can't get that HP back. And that means Gyarados is in a much tougher position. And Geo right now is not only playing on his heels, but pretty much playing... almost falling down. I'm just in a very good spot, and I'll take that. So Porygon 2 comes in, and just like I said in the builder, he has 3 Intimidate Mons. If I bring a Trace Mon, that means I also have, well, 2 or 1 Intimidate Mon. Well, 2 because Gardevoir and Porygon 2, but 2 Intimidators back to him puts his his physical setup Mons in, well, pretty much in trouble. He tries to set up with a D-Dance, not happening. You know, at neutral, just +1, he's not going to do that much damage. I'm going to go for Tri-Attack. Obviously, he didn't want to take a T-Bolt, but I go for Tri-Attack, predicting him to go into Conkeldurr. I know he's not Guts, so I know that if I got the Burn or the Para, he is in a much tougher position. I don't have to worry about taking that extra big hit, and that's okay, because I'm putting more damage now on a Conkeldurr. He's going to go for Drain Punch, because he's just playing what's in front of me. He couldn't necessarily go for Ice Punch. It would have been a good play for him to go for Ice Punch. He's seeing now that Nidoqueen is my continual switch in for Conkeldurr. But with that in mind, it also means that he didn't get that much HP back, and that's kind of the purpose of this Nidoqueen, to take that fighting hit. I didn't take it well, obviously, because this is not like a bold Nidoqueen, it's modest, but I'm okay with that damage, and instead I'm going to go for Sludge Wave. Again, hit what is in front of me. I thought Bronzong was coming in, but I thought, okay, cool, Bronzong's coming in. It doesn't have leftovers. It took some rocks damage. I can go for Flamethrower. He's going to go for Side Shock and get off, a good chunk of damage, but I'm going to win this fight. And with that in mind, if I beat the Bronzong with Nidoqueen, that also means that he now has 0 switch-ins for Zydog, and that's kind of just the ultimate purpose. Gyarados, super low, has no leftovers. Tapu Fini is now dead. We see now that Bronzong is also dead. He now has literally 0 switch-ins for Zydog, and he also has no real switch-ins for Thundurus as well, so if I pivot one time, or if I just go ahead and just click T-Bolt, something is probably dying after the rocks. It's going to go into Heliolisk here. I'm going to switch out. I'm thinking he can't go for an electric move. There's no way, unless he has the biggest cojones you've ever seen. He could go for Hyper Voice, and I'm thinking to myself, I could take one with Hitmonlee, and then I could, outpace, or otherwise. I'm thinking I could just take Hyper Voice super well. I think it's like 37 to 44%, so I could take 2, and obviously I could bop him there. And he goes for HP Ice. It does 0 for a frail Pokemon like Hitmonlee. Am I right, analyst? Which is gonna be fun to continue that joke going. He goes for Intimidate as he goes into Gyarados, and I just spin. I got rid of the rocks, and for being a -1 spin, that is a fair amount of damage, but also it puts him below 25%. Without the leftovers, that means now that if he switches out, this Gyarados is dead. Granted, it does rob me a kill with Thundurus, but that's beyond the point. This means that this Gyarados is absolutely dead. Go back into Porygon 2, typical play. This is exactly what this Porygon 2 is for. I'm going to go Intimidate him. He's going to be at -1. He's going to go for Waterfall. This does some damage, and it's not a terrible amount. But I think to myself, he's going to Conkeldurr. That's just super obvious. And the game plan I had here was go for Recover, get this back up to a good solid amount of HP, almost full HP. Think to myself, well, if Heliolisk, if Nidoqueen dies, which is what I'm going to do here, I'm going to sack off Nidoqueen. Heliolisk comes in, I have something to take on those hits, and then to hit it back even harder, right? If Gyarados comes in, which now it switched out, it's dead. So all he has, Conkeldurr, Heliolisk, Gengar, and Gyarados left. He goes for Ice Punch, like I said, knocking out Nidoqueen, perfect, good job, killed Nidoqueen. That was kind of the point of me sacking it off. Nidoqueen is doing that a lot, but this allows me the free pivot into the Mon that I kept saying, that he just doesn't have any responses to anymore. He doesn't have the thing to check the 1,000 arrows. Bronzong's dead. Tapu Fini is dead. Conkeldurr, the biggest problem, is now dead, leaving only Gengar, only Heliolisk, and a dead Gyarados. I am pretty much set here. I think that this game is just super downhill for Geo as of the Sludge Wave prediction, which I pat myself on the shoulder for that one. But he goes into Gengar. I'm thinking, well, duh, if that doesn't scream Scarf, I don't know what does. But he goes for Destiny Bond of all things, thinking I would just go for 1,000 arrows. Obviously, he would outpace, and I thought he would just go for like HP Ice, which is why I actually swapped out. I said, you know what? No. I don't want to take an HP Ice. I thought that's why he brought it in. He could have also went for Shadow Ball. Really didn't want to take that. Instead, he just goes right into Gyarados. Again, the purpose of knocking off the leftovers means he doesn't get the Intimidate off. He just sacks off Gyarados. He has no means of, not getting rid of the rocks, and that's great for me. He goes into Heliolisk, and because Hitmonlee is so frail, and because it's so not offensive, he's right here going to go for Thunderbolt. I don't know if he had Hyper Voice now at this point, but he goes Thunderbolt. Obviously, I can't take that hit, and obviously his knockoff is not going to kill. And, we see just how frail Hitmonlee is on the special side. Like, duh. Obviously, it gets two-shotted. And then Gengar's going to come in, and it's not going to be able to take this hit at all either, He's going to right here. He's going to go for Sludge Bomb. So I guess we saw, Shadow Ball, I assume Trick, I assume Destiny Bond, and Sludge Bomb here. And obviously I can't take this hit. Obviously I'm gonna die right here. I'm gonna have to come in something. It's gonna pad his differential. No, just kidding. This thing is actually kind of bulky. Fuck off, analysts. And I go for knockoff, and I knock off Gengar here. That means that Hitmonlee took out 2 of his mons later in the game. And I am so happy that was a convincing win. Great game to Geo. I just think that I just had a proper matchup here. And unfortunately, he didn't necessarily. Closing thoughts. We beat Geo, and that puts us at 2-0 in our conference. +6 puts us at 2-1, +4 differential. That means that currently we are now racing with Crimson for the top of our division. Overall, I think that Geo, just unfortunately on team preview, nothing against him as a coach. I think he's a great coach, great person. I actually hung out with him when I went to San Francisco. Very good friend of mine. Just unfortunately, the team matchup wasn't quite there. But I did enjoy the match. I think that it's just unfortunate circumstances. And I know I'll see him again. I know we'll have a better match the second time around. But for right now, kind of enjoying the win and kind of enjoying the fact that I'm not a dumpster fire and that analysts can go shove it up their ass. And that just for right now, I'm enjoying the team. I'm enjoying building. And overall, I'm just enjoying the feeling of actually getting wins, 2 wins in a row, as compared to losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and losing like last season, as you guys know. So, with that in mind, next week we go up against the Alola Athletic and Callum, aka Hold'em Scrafty. That's going to be kind of a tougher match based on his team and because of the fact that he is also just doing really, really well for a new coach. So I got to prepare accordingly for that. I hope you guys look forward to that. I know I will. I'll prep my best the same way I prepped this week. And until then, I will see you guys next week. Bye.